Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar on how to cope with uncertainty and anxiety and go beyond COVID-19. My name's Dr. Cate Howell and I'm a medical practitioner and therapist. I also work as an educator and have authored a handful of books, the latest one being about men's mental health. My firm belief is that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much, as Helen Keller said. And this is especially true with managing COVID-19 and going beyond it. This is my son Alex. He and I have written a book on men's mental health called The Changing Man. And I think this is particularly pertinent during this COVID-19 journey. But in general, men are more reluctant to seek assistance because potentially of shame, because of how we're socialised, attached to any mental health related issue. So it's really important that men and women reach out if they need some assistance. And the other book there is one I did with a psychologist colleague called Relish Your Worries, and that may be of assistance right now too. So in this webinar, we're going to look at anxiety related to COVID-19 and some key coping strategies. And I have drawn this information from a new online program which has been developed with a colleague of mine, Kath McIntyre, and we do go more deeply into understanding COVID-19 related stress and anxiety, 10 key coping strategies, supports and resources, and going forward with hope as well. All right, so the reason that COVID-19 has had such an impact on our emotional well-being is that it basically has been a disaster in the same way as bushfires, floods, etc. are. We haven't seen one in our lifetime as significant, and we know at the outset a significant number of people felt helpless and extremely worried and anxious, and that some people during the process have experienced severe stress or anxiety or trauma. This pandemic has been triggering for people who've experienced trauma in the past as well. And if someone is already dealing with mental health issues like anxiety and depression, then they're more at risk of experiencing anxiety at the moment or having a relapse of their depression. But it's important to remember that humans are incredibly adaptable, and you are also being protected by a number of factors. So your well-being is being protected by your learnt resilience through life, your ability to tolerate distress, your sense of self and self-worth, any connections that you have through family or sport or work, friends, having occupation, whether that's at home or paid work or hobbies. Hopefully some financial security, and I know that's been very distressing for many people. It is protective if you've got a sense of security, healthy diet and lifestyle, having secure housing, access to nature is also protected. And earlier this year, I asked the followers on a Facebook page that I facilitate every day what they were most worried about with COVID-19. And they reported worry about loved ones getting sick, scarcity at the time in supermarkets, the potential loss of jobs or actual loss of jobs and income, worry about paying the rent, other financial commitments, dealing with conflicting information in the community, or concern surrounding the long-term repercussions of COVID-19 and whether life would be the same again. And certainly reports in the media have mirrored these. I've been watching the reports closely, and these have been significant concerns for many people. And we know from research that key issues impacting emotional health in a pandemic are the degree of change and uncertainty, which challenges us. Humans don't like change. We find it stressful. And it might be change in our daily routine or day-to-day life with the physical distancing and other measures, or maybe spending more time at home, changes at work, changes to the ability to travel and see other people. A sense of loss with that separation or cancelled celebrations, or maybe you've been impacted directly by loss of health or loss of loved ones. And then there'll be grief as well attached to those losses. And this includes something we don't hear a lot about, but anticipatory grief about the future. And so we have hopes for the future. And when our sense of normality and those hopes are disrupted, we start worrying, what will this be like? And, will I be able to get another job? Will I be able to get a house? Will I get married, etc.? Challenges to our values, even what's important to us. That may be in a negative sense, or it may even be in a positive sense. We'll talk about that more later. Sense of identity, who you are, meaning in life, especially if that's been attached to work, for example, and you're not doing the same work. Or increased risks in the community, such as domestic violence and homelessness, have been huge challenges. So let's now drill down to what's actually happening in our minds and bodies when we feel a sense of threat or safety in our regular life. We actually experience the fight, flight, freeze response, and this is a primitive response. Our mind perceives there's a threat and our safety is in danger, and it responds by triggering the production of adrenaline, which rushes through the body and causes all of the physical and mental symptoms. We might get a racy heart, we might breathe faster, we might sweat more, we might get muscle tension or chest pains, discomfort. We might notice we can't think, and that's because blood is going to the muscles to run or fight the danger, run away from or fight the danger. We don't need to think, we just need to run or fight. And the blood doesn't go to our gut so we can feel nauseated. And we're often aware of those physical symptoms. And there can be the range of cognitive symptoms or thinking, to do with our brain and ability to think. We might have more negative thoughts. We might not be able to concentrate, be forgetful, have bad dreams. We might have a range of emotional symptoms, such as feeling nervous or tense, lacking confidence, sense of unreality, being more irritable. That's a common one. And behaviourally, when we're stressed, our vices tend to come to the fore, maybe drinking more coffee or more alcohol or smoking more, eating less. And it's important to be aware of that and pay attention to that and try and relieve stress in other ways. Additional symptoms might be that sense of shock and disbelief at the outset of the pandemic, denial. This can't be happening. It doesn't feel real. And remember that the journey through a pandemic is not sort of like this or like this. It's basically a bit like this. So up and down, and we're not quite sure what's around the corner. And so that shock and disbelief can return at different times. Anxiety, as we're talking about, hypervigilance, particularly if there's been trauma in the past, we'll often go into a state of watching for danger. Maybe feeling overwhelmed, maybe having racing thoughts or ruminating a lot, having difficulty sleeping or feeling sad or depressed, maybe feeling disconnected from others. So a whole range of symptoms. So let's look at how can we cope with the stress and anxiety. That's probably the most important thing to address today. And a good starting point is to remember that in life, there are things in our circle of control. We can control what we eat or what we say or what we do. There are some things we can influence, but not fully control. So maybe we can influence a friend or a family member, for example, and get them to join us in doing an activity. And then there are things we're concerned about, but they're not within our influence or control. So one of the ways to cope in this situation is focus on what you can actually control directly, and sometimes leave the rest and focus here now. What can I do? What do I have control over? And this might involve giving yourself a bit of time to adjust. And this will be necessary at different times as the situation changes. You know, we are human, we have emotions, we need time to adjust to change. That's okay. It's okay to have a mental health day or a pajama day, or just take some time out. We also need to access good information so it's reliable, and make sure we're organised. So I know at the outset people sought assistance in terms of rent, or perhaps talk to the bank about changing mortgage repayments. And certainly I went through my finances and had a good look at what I could let go of, and what I could readjust so that everything was more manageable. And having some routines is important. So rather than letting sleep, wake up times go all over the place, or exercise routines go out the window, focus on keeping some routines, perhaps developing some new routines, and making sure self-care is in there. The basic things like eating pretty healthily, getting some regular exercise, regular sleep and sunshine. They, often we disregard these. They sound too simple, but they are so important. And particularly when we're struggling with our mental health, they're even more vital to help get us back on track. You may need to set limits on watching the news and what you're seeing and what you're hearing to reduce anxiety as well. All right, here are a few quick hacks to relieve stress and anxiety. I talked a moment ago about how we go into fight, flight, freeze response. Now, that's one part of our automatic nervous system. The other part is controlled by the vagus nerve, and these are often called vagus hacks. So when we actually stop and take a few medium breaths in and out, that helps switch on the vagus nerve and relax us. When we sing a song out loud, when we splash our face with cold water, or have a cool shower, you may not be so keen on that if it's a cold day, or do exercise, that gets our vagus nerve active and calms the fight flight side down. I don't have time today to go into all 10 key coping strategies which are supported by research and experience, but I will tap into a few key ones and share my thoughts with you. So the 10 key strategies range from managing your stress level through using relaxation and mindfulness, connecting with others, working with your feelings and thoughts, being gentle with yourself, compassionate, finding the silver lining where you can, and looking out for your physical well-being and focusing on some enjoyment. All right, here's a few. First one is managing your stress level. A friend and I often use the metaphor of a stress bucket. So within us, there's a stress bucket. And as we go through the day, that bucket fills. Even just being alive, there's a degree of stress because we've got to eat and stay warm and so on. Add into that demands from family and work and traveling to work and the bills and the relationships. And before you know it, your stress level's quite high. So the aim is to work on getting the stress level down in your bucket, keeping it manageable. And that might involve, excuse me, I've been doing a lot of talking today. It might involve getting some things out of your bucket, some responsibilities, letting things go, saying no, prioritizing things. It can also involve getting into relaxation. So the opposite to the stress response is relaxation. And that might be in the form of music or craft or exercise. And that can really help you deal with anxiety, and investing a bit of time regularly. You don't have to spend hours every day on it. Just 10 minutes regularly can help. 20 minutes if you've got it. It might be as simple as using some breathing techniques, and we will go through one of these in a moment. Or listening to a recording with muscle relaxation and visualization, or using an app like Smiling Mind. let's just do a little breathing exercise that takes literally 30 seconds. And I'll also point out that on YouTube, there are these things called breathing circles. So if you just put in breathing and circle, you'll find them. And it's like a little shape, usually a circle or hexagon or something, and it expands as you breathe in and contracts as you breathe out. And it just gets your timing right, and by focusing your vision on it, it helps you relax. So they're very useful. But let's just do a very brief breathing exercise. If you want to participate, that's fine. If you just want to listen or watch, that's okay too. So it's important when we breathe effectively that our shoulders remain still and we breathe down to our belly. So our belly gets fatter when we breathe in. And we breathe at a gentle, easy rate. And the rate is about in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. So breathe in and out through your nose if you're comfortable with it, or through your mouth. And simply be aware of the breath in and the breath out. Notice the movements of the chest as you breathe in and out, and the tummy. Notice the flow of air through your nose or mouth and how that feels. And that the air is even warmer when you breathe out. And breathe at a gentle, easy rate. In, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. You might like to breathe in peace and calm, and breathe out what you don't need. That might be stress or worry. Okay, and just coming back to the moment. That literally, I don't know how long that took, but 30 seconds, certainly less than a minute. And it can just settle us right down quite rapidly. So it's a great thing to do regularly when it's safe for you to do so. And this is another little exercise that's so easy. It involves our hand. You can do it on paper with a pen, but I'm just going to demonstrate here. It's nice to do it with your finger because it's very in the moment and mindful when we do that. So what you're going to do is follow my finger, and I'll just show you first. You're going to breathe in, 2, 3 as we go up one side of the finger and out, 2, 3 as you go down the other. We'll start with the little finger. All right. So you slowly trace around and time your breathing with it until we get to the other side. Okay, let's go. Breathing in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. There you go. Again, portable, easy, doesn't take long. I know kids often do this one at school, but I think it's great for adults too. All right. Now, before we move on to feelings, I mentioned the word mindfulness, and just a little bit on that. When we pay attention in the moment on purpose, so say we're having a cuppa, we feel the warmth, we smell it, we taste it, we notice what we're tasting. We tend to relax and enjoy when we're mindful. And so that's a really useful tool in terms of the relaxation and enjoying things. Now, this coping skill is about being more mindful of your feelings. So, as a generalization, women are socialized to look after everyone else. And I'm not saying men don't do that, but certainly a lot of the women I see struggle to prioritize themselves, caring for themselves and being aware of how they're going. So it's really useful for all of us, including women especially, to notice the feelings and acknowledge them. Are you tired? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you anxious? So check in on yourself regularly. Remember that feelings are one word: happy, sad, irritable, hurt, worried. If it's more than one word, it's a thought. So a thought might be, I wish they didn't do that. And the feeling might be irritable, frustrated, angry, or it might be disappointed. Or I'm feeling like it's been a great day. So the feeling might be happy, satisfied, content. Yep. So pay attention to your feelings. It can also help to use a 5-point scale to rate how you're going. So it might be very good, 2 is good, 4 okay in the middle, 4 not good, 5 struggling. Where are you in terms of your feelings at this moment? And if you find yourself consistently up here, it might be good to, do some talking with a friend or a counsellor, do some journaling. Certainly, if you're always up here, reach out and get some assistance. That might be phone support through somewhere like Beyond Blue or Lifeline, might be seeing your GP, therapist. Talking, journaling helps us work through, process our emotions. Exercise is a great way to vent and express the emotion. Music as well soothes us, helps us express emotion. So find the things that work for you. If the feelings are grief related to this pandemic, it's important to look after yourself, talk to people, write a journal, so express what's going on. Allow some grief time each day. Might be half an hour, might be 15 minutes, in which you focus on the grief. You can do some talking about it, writing, have a cry, recognize the losses, whatever you need to do, look at photos, etc. Make up a little box with memories if you've lost a loved one, that sort of thing, or a journal. And keep an eye on how you're going day to day. Get some help if need be. Remember you have coping skills and strengths despite the challenges, and tap into them and stay connected with people. We're social creatures and we need other people. This coping skill is really important right now, being kind and compassionate, both to others but also to ourselves. We often learn the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to yourself. But you can flip that around and say, do unto myself what I do to others, how I treat others. So treating yourself with kindness and respect. I have so many clients who are very self-critical in their minds about themselves and give themselves a hard time in their thoughts. So it's about recognizing that and quitting the self-criticism. Be gentle in what you do. Take time out if you need to. Say no. Have a PJ day. Whatever you need to do to look after yourself. And when we're kind to others, that helps us feel good as well. It helps us feel happy and gives you a sense of meaning. And we've seen great examples of that in the pandemic, of people reaching out and supporting other people in all sorts of ways. One helpful thought that's gentle is to say to yourself, I'm doing the best I can right now. And if it's a day of not achieving much and withdrawing, that's okay. If it's a day of getting a lot done, that's great too. Okay, a few words on promoting your general well-being. That refers to feeling healthy. The absence of distress relates to how you're feeling and functioning, and it's a broad, holistic term. It covers your well-being physically, emotionally, socially, at work, etc. And it can be great to have a general well-being plan. We often think about a physical fitness plan, but what about a broader plan? So this one's from the Mind Room in Victoria, and it has 5 headings. One is move. So the plan might involve, walking. The second is connect. So it might be phoning a friend regularly or family member. 3, learn. Might be reading a book, doing an online course, studying. 4, notice. That's where the mindfulness comes in. What can I notice today? Can I notice when I walk the nature around me? 5, give. Giving to myself or giving to others. So I invite you to develop a plan, put a goal under each one, and when you've worked on that, you can add another goal. Keep the goals realistic right now, conservative, and review it regularly. And don't forget about hope. We often think hope is wishful thinking, but it's actually a positive state of mind. The expectation that positive outcomes will occur. And I know that's hard right now with COVID. Depending on where you are in the world, the situation may have seemed to have come a long way or be struggling, but it will in time be okay. Einstein once said, learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. Humans really need that sense of hope. So it's important to hold on to it. And it is an active thing. It's about how you speak to yourself in your mind. It's about having some goals and planning small steps, even if they're baby steps, towards working with the goals. Earlier on in that very early phase when, we were literally suddenly in the pandemic, I generally, my exercise is walking, and I had lost my 2 dogs in the last couple of years, and I was finding it hard to get out and walk. And eventually what I decided was I would get another dog, and because I was home a lot more, it was a good time. And that has really helped me feel more hopeful and have a focus and get out walking. And I think too, our work can give us a great sense of meaning and hope for the future. Being able to help someone else is so important. A reminder that if at any stage you have concerns about your own well-being, perhaps seek some help, phone or your GP or a counsellor. If you're worried about someone else's mental health, you can again talk to a GP or ring support lines. The Australian Mental Health First Aid Guidelines have very useful information on specific issues as well. So they're a great resource. All right, so today we've had a look at COVID-19, the uncertainty that it's generated, and the challenges to our mental health and well-being. It has created a lot of stress and anxiety, and that's pretty normal. Hopefully I've emphasised that point. That's how we are as humans. There are many ways we can manage it though. We can use various coping skills, and we've touched on some of them here. So keeping your stress level down, tapping into relaxation and mindfulness, being compassionate to yourself. And I'd just like to highlight that on my website there is a free ebook on self-compassion if you want to find out a little bit more about that. When you first go onto the page, a little pop-up and you'll see where you can get the ebook. And also looking after your well-being and perhaps generating a plan. We will get through this together. And a colleague who's actually a filmmaker as well as a counsellor and I have put together a 5-module online course. Today was a bit of a taste of some of the things in there, and the online program also has quite a few resources attached to it, such as meditation recordings. So you may be interested in checking that out on my website. There's a tab on the front page that gives you more information about it. But there's also lots of blogs. I've done 2 blogs this year on the effects of COVID on our wellbeing and some tips around that. And I have a lovely Facebook community and every day share tips and positive thoughts. And I know, I've run into strangers around the place, even one at the airport who said, Cate, thank you. Those positive messages, really help lift my spirits. So hopefully that might be something of use as well. Thank you so much for listening to this webinar. I have included some useful resources as well, and so you can have a look through those. Beyond Blue and Black Dog are very good sources of information, and also there's some excellent phone supports available, including a specific COVID-19 mental health support line. So hopefully you've found some tips in there that are of use, and I wish you all the best. And be kind to yourself, look after yourself and stay well.